Hello and welcome to what's going to be the prologue to a new series that I'm going to call Repro or Refinance. Which basically means, should you basically refinance your house to buy an old game? Or just get a repro of it, whether it's a burned copy on a disc or if somebody makes a cartridge and all that. Which, there's a lot of systems that this exists on. You could have, replica Super Nintendo games, which I happen to have a couple right in front of my face. One of them being Earthbound, which normally costs $200 to $300. Or there's even situations where there's games that never came out technically, like Star Fox 2. Came out on the little mini system. That was the only place you could actually play it officially. So that was like taking that version, throwing it on a cartridge. So in some situations like Star Fox, it's there's no question about it. But when it comes to, like, let's say Earthbound, is it worth paying $200 to $300 for the game, or should you just go ahead and find yourself a copy? Because I think I paid, I think $15-20 for that instead of the $200. Some people are very, very against it, and some of them aren't very good. For example, this copy has fake screws. It's just plastic. And it's also in Portuguese. That one came from China. They gave me half my money back because, as they put it, it will walk well. I already made a video about that a long time ago. And of course, here's one with real screws that was from Etsy that was actually with English. Much better. Much more usable. Now, there's some systems out there that you really question, like, is it really possible? Some of the weirder things, some of the more obscure consoles, and one of the ones that really needs a repro scene that doesn't really have it is this, the Turbografx 16. And anybody who owns one of these knows that if you want to buy any games on this thing, you're looking at a minimum of $40+, even for the most basic of anything. There are a couple of exceptions out there. There's some games that range between $10 to $20, and typically they're sports games. Final Lap is a racing game that, it's fairly reasonable, $10, I think. When I bought the system, they threw in Final Lap, or maybe they threw in Keith Courage, because that's the other game I have officially for it. Both games were only like $10, $20. They threw it in when I bought it. Now, the thing about this, as you probably saw when I held it up, this is a weird, looks like a credit card. For those of you who don't know, this is called a Hue card on certain systems. It says Hue card on the back, but then they like to call it a turbo chip, just for the Turbografx, but it's a Hue card. That's what this is. And basically, there is a chip I've seen in some teardowns. They're just towards the end here. There's a lot of empty plastic up until about halfway into it. And then it's just like a little board, very, very low profile chip. Very hard to reproduce. So when you think about it, it's like, well, how would you go about doing it? And I have seen, and I've done a lot of research on this. I've only seen 2 places that have even tried it. One guy, he made a very small batch, and he got him to look like this. I've seen a video where somebody who was experimenting with making it happen, he did it. But the way that I found it recently, and this is on Etsy, and I'm going to throw the guy's name up here, because I think that the store is called 100 Yen, but in case I'm wrong, it'll appear there, but I think that's it. He's got reproduction Turbografx games, and they look a little different, which you might have seen it when I just kind of waved it around. They look like this. So this, it's the same thickness with the board itself. If I can hold it a little closer, it's the same thickness, but of course you got a giant EEPROM sitting right there, and he did put a sticker over the little thing where you can wipe it if you put it in. I think it's like a UV thing, and like zaps it with light and it wipes the ROM. I don't know the ins and outs of all of it, but I know that there's like a little window there for erasing the chip. And of course he put a sticker over that, which is for the best. Now, I was honestly hoping that I could see this see how it was wired up, and maybe learn how to make the boards, and maybe try to do one myself. But it is blank on the bottom, and I can see, because you can kind of see the pins. Right there, it's hard to get a good angle of this, but you can see the pins where they're soldered into the top layer. And then he put a bottom layer just kind of over top of the circuits, which is actually for the best, because you don't want to scratch off any of the leads and then completely destroy it. And yeah, it definitely works. It started up first try, and I can even tell you, even though I've cleaned these don't always start up first try, but this was, popped it in once, came right on, no issues, the game plays. Now, the game is Newtopia, and if you don't know anything about Newtopia, it's about as clone of Zelda as you can possibly get. And is that a good thing or a bad thing? If you really like Zelda, it's just another Zelda game, in a way. I'm surprised whoever made this, I'm not entirely, Hudson Soft, I'm surprised Hudson Soft was not sued over it because of how almost exact it is in almost every way. Alright, so you may or may not notice that it's a different day, and it's because my first attempt at recording it, I filmed it on the CRT. It didn't come out as well as I had hoped, so I'm going to try to film it on just this LCD. Now, the problem is it is RF only without an adapter that goes on the back here, which I do not own, but I definitely think I'm going to get it because it looks alright on here, but it's still not the greatest because, it's just RF. But we're going to show you this a little more up close because this has got a better focus on it this way. You can see the pins, they do not stick out past the little indent there, which is great because otherwise it would slide up against, dig into this part here. On the front, you get a nice up close, you can see how he just puts a screenshot and the name of the game there. Which, it's a nice little touch. It's high quality sticker paper, or sticker something, because it's actually got a little bit of gloss to it. Anyway, let's go ahead and pop it in. I don't even have a controller plugged in, because this is really just to show you that it works. Let's go ahead and flip the thing on here. And there it is. It's a very Zelda-ish intro. Much longer than Zelda. Eventually, there we go, Newtopia. Works good, sounds good, looks good. Actually looks not bad on this LCD, which is RF. It didn't look so great up there when filming. But this leads me to the concern I have with this, which may or may not pose an issue in the long run. Now, getting the game out, typically you just grab it where the little notch is and you just yank it out. However, that's where the chip is. I've tried, because I've filmed this a few times already, plus the fact that I've played this a couple times, I've tried different ways. I've tried to grip it higher up, like over here. I've tried to just kind of use friction. It doesn't seem to really want to go. You might be able to two-hand it by just taking just the lip of that there. Maybe if I had both hands it's possible, but otherwise you got to very gently kind of pull where the chip is, very gently. And it does pop out. It's not terribly hard to get out if you're doing it in certain ways. I try to grab as much of the chip at once as possible, otherwise you're going to end up bending the whole thing. I think that's more of an issue of the system, not so much maybe the design. I think it would look probably pretty funny had you put the chip a little higher up, so this is probably the best place for it. But that's just something to keep in mind. I do think it's definitely worth buying games this way because the system is so hard to get into. This was about half cost. This game normally runs about $80. I got it with shipping for about $38, so a little under half. If you're lucky, you might be able to find it for a little less, but you never know. But yeah, they exist. And if you want to buy one, I did look. It says he still has one of these available. He's got a bunch of other games, and he was nice enough to tell me that he would make whatever I asked him to make, which means he's still producing them, which is nice. I did show it in the first part, but the name of the store was 100 yen. And yeah, I definitely recommend it. I'm going to do a full-fledged, repro or refinance on this thing coming up here. This is kind of just like a prologue, kind of showing you that even if you don't think the system that you are looking to collect for has repros, there's a good chance that in some fashion there is something. So I hope this helps somebody, and I hope you stick around for the upcoming series, and I will see you in the future.